Welcome to the morning show with me, Martin King.
And with me, Sybil Mulcahy.
Coming up today, after years of searching, Paddy Carroll finally got to meet his birth mother in 2011. But unfortunately, at that stage, she was suffering from Alzheimer's.
And I touched her, I said, you know, we have a little secret, haven't we? And she said, yeah, you go first. So I just said, well, I'm the baby you give up for. She christened me Anthony. So I said, I'm baby Anthony that you give up for adoption.
We'll be speaking to Paddy shortly.
Also, they won the Triple Crown at the weekend, but the Irish women's rugby team aren't stopping there. They've still got the Grand Slam in their sights. We'll be talking to them very shortly.
And staying with sport, Cheltenham is just around the corner. And I visit champion trainer Desi Hughes as he prepares his horses for the festival.
Back in the yard, that they're all sound and clean and there's no coughs and one thing or another. And then out in the gallops, you really have to see how they're moving every day.
And she's been described as a one to watch for 2013. Model Palia Heffernan and her mum Susan will be here to chat about her rising modelling career.
Now, we had quite a reaction to yesterday's programme. Ruth Blandina was on the programme with us, Ruth Blandina Quinn, talking about her breast reduction.
Yes, she was a size J, but she was told that if she didn't do something, she wouldn't be able to stand up by the age of 45. So she got a reduction to a size C cup. She came on the show to discuss it, and we got a big response to that. A lot of people wanting to know where to get further information about that surgery. And if you are interested, it's the Irish Association of Plastic Surgeons, and they'll have all the details on that.
Okay, plasticsurgery.ie. And good news as well, we had baby Sergio's dad in with us just the other week.
Donal, yeah.
Yes, and he's back from Boston after his surgery there on his to repair his esophagus. He was spending some time in Crumlin Children's Hospital. The whole family looking forward to his return home to Donecarney. Well, that is happening, and we're delighted to hear that. And I'm sure that Donal will serenade Sergio and Rosa and Sergio's brother into the house for that big day.
And it's the first time they've all been at home as a family.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Yeah,
fantastic.
So good. Congratulations to them all.
Now, after his adopted parents passed away, Paddy Carroll decided to try and trace his birth mother and father.
Years of searching finally led him to Boston in the US, where he discovered his mother. Unfortunately, however, she was suffering from Alzheimer's at the time.
And they said, look, we better play this cautiously, that she's in the stages of Alzheimer's, advanced stages, and it may take a couple of days for her to get used to you. And I think it was on the Wednesday, I was sitting beside her, and I just, we were alone in the room, and I just said, this is my moment, and I touched her, I said, you know, we have a little secret, haven't we? And she said, yeah, you go first. So I just said, well, I'm the baby you give up for. She christened me Anthony. So I said, I'm baby Anthony that you give up for adoption. And she kind of squeezed my hand, and it was a lovely moment. She was actually quite lucid then, and she said, I hope you were very well looked after. And I said I was, and she said it was a terrible time for me. And I said, I understand that. Nobody's complaining here. This is a lovely moment. Let's enjoy it. And she said, I missed all those years with you. I'm going to fill a little bit here now. I missed the birthdays and all that sort of thing.
And Paddy joins us now together with Kathy Collier, who has adopted 2 children, and they're both part of a new book, All Born Under the One Blue Sky, which marks 100 years of the organisation, Cúnamh. You're both very welcome to the programme. Thank you very much for coming in. Paddy, we'll start with you. That was a very special moment, but it was quite a journey to get there.
Yeah, it took a good few years, about 12, 13 years, yeah.
It was after your parents passed away.
Frank and Mamie passed on, yeah. I decided to wait till they had passed on to have a look. I always knew I was adopted, but when they passed on, I started the search.
Well, it was, and we've heard it so often on the morning show from people who were adopted. You needed to know your health history, your health records.
If only that, yeah. And it was quite difficult trying to get information back then, but I was born in England, and when I discovered that, it was easy because they'll give you all your birth cert, your original birth cert, and my mother's name was on it, and my father's name, who she hadn't told I existed, but this helped down the road. Cúnamh were marvellous because they'll tell you the Christian name, but they won't give you the surname.
Okay.
They're bound by the law not to reveal that information. So when we originally made contact through a letter which Kunav wrote, she said yes, that she would meet me, and but it would be when she'd be home in Ireland.
Okay.
She hadn't told anybody, her family, her brothers or sisters, or her daughters, or her husband. But it never happened. The meeting never happened. And then 3 years after that, she developed Alzheimer's. And then the letters that were sent were not answered. Excuse me. So there was a kind of a lull of about 5 or 6 years there where nothing had happened and none of the letters were ever been answered. And I was kind of going to leave it. I kind of resigned myself to leave it. And I was getting reminders and nudges from my wife to keep it up, not that it was my right to find out all this stuff. And eventually we went back to Kunav and they said, we'll try once more. And then what happened was we suspected one of the daughters, one of my sisters, would open the letter, which is what happened. And the response was great. They said, come on, when can you get over?
Really?
So we decided,
that must have been a real delight.
Yeah.
Very emotional to get that kind of response was great.
And you discovered once you got there that you had how many half-sisters?
4. Funny, that phrase was never used. Amazing. By them,
Actually,
it was,
I don't actually like the half.
no, it was never. You're our brother. It was great. And
Which was
big
even
hugs.
better.
Big hugs at the airport. It was great. And we had a great week in Boston and got to see the sights. Lovely time, yeah.
And you had that moment with your mum?
Yeah, sure. Wouldn't sell that for $1 million.
And the funny thing is that your wife was with you
All the time,
and she tried to take a picture, but actually made an error.
yeah. Amazing, yeah. One of those little cameras that when you flick it to look at the last picture you took, you get the still and you flick it this way. We didn't know. It's actually recording. And she recorded that little moment.
Is now captured on video.
Have it on video, yeah. It was lovely, yeah.
For those watching this morning who haven't heard of Kunav, because I hadn't been aware, it's been around 100 years.
Yeah.
But what difference is it between, the adoption board or one of those, or why would your mum have gone through there?
That I'm not sure, because I have some of the letters that she would have written from England looking for help. And they would have been addressed to the same woman that my adopted father, was writing to. It's amazing. And there was no mobile phones, obviously, back then. And she was putting stamped address envelopes in with the letters to get a quick response, she was really thankfully looked after me, really made sure I was looked after. When you think of some of the stories of what happened, some of the babies were sold on, but she breastfed me, believe it or not, for 3 months. And then made sure I was fostered first, when there was no family ready, and then when I was fostered, I was handed over to Frank and Mamie.
Okay. 6 months after you met with your mum, she passed away.
Yeah.
And there was another little surprise, and even though it was sad that she had passed, but you were told you had a particular part to play on her funeral.
That was lovely. My sister said, you're going to be the chief mourner. And I said, what? And she said, well, they had an open casket, and they said, we want you at the head of the queue. So all these people were coming by, paying their final respects, and it was lovely. They come over, they'd look in, shake, sympathise with you, and then one lovely lady came over and she looked in at my mother, and then she looked up at me and looked in again, looked back at me, and she came over, and I was standing up at the stage to shake her hand, and she pulled me down real close and she said, so you're the little secret, are you? And she said, you're not so little, are you? Which was lovely.
What about your dad? He wasn't told, was he, that she...
No one. I was trying to quiz her on that, because I still hadn't found him at this stage. And she was very protective of when you get that, I'd say, who used to go dancing with, and she could change the subject straight away, But through a genealogist and through Kunav, I found that he moved also to England and eventually made contact with his family. And he had 4 daughters and a son, but he had died in the 80s. He was only 58, died of colon cancer. But again, we were made really welcome in Manchester, went over and
found you had more siblings.
More siblings, yeah.
Kathy, we'll bring you in here because you're the other side. You have adopted 2 children out of Kunav. Tell us about that process and why you chose Kunav.
Well, we had applied to the HSE and Kunav at the same time, and we got word back that they both were willing to take us on to doing an assessment, but we couldn't do them simultaneously. So we decided to go ahead with Cúnamh, and our assessment took 7 or 8 months, and then we were put on a waiting list. And 9 months later, I got a phone call to say that there was a little baby boy
Oh, fantastic.
looking for parents. So we went up and we met Kieran is my oldest, he's 6.5. We met Kieran's mum in Cúnamh with our social worker, and his birth mum's social worker was there as well. And it was very emotional, as you can imagine, but it was a lovely day too. And we spoke and we got on very well from the start. And she wanted to come down to see where we lived, where he was going to be living for the rest of his life. So she came a few days later and met us, and from then we went to visit Kieran. He was in the foster home in Tala, and we went up to visit him. There was like a period for about 2 weeks where we went up every day, brought him for walks, fed him, kind of got him used to us before we just took him away. So we have a great relationship too with his foster parents still, because our little girl Sophie, she was fostered by the same people as well.
Okay.
So we still are in contact with them and would meet them regularly.
It's known as an open adoption.
Yes.
So the birth parents are still in the loop.
Are still in the picture, yeah. They come and visit. Now, Sophie's parents are from Mauritius. She was born in the Rotunda, but they have come back to Mauritius since. But we would have regular contact with them, letters and pictures and emails, and we talk on the phone as well. And we will go someday, over to visit them and see them at some stage in the future.
And how long do the adoptions take? Because you hear about people adopting in Ireland, and it takes years, 5, 6
from
years.
when we did the assessment to the day we got Kieran, it was a year and a half.
Okay.
But we were particularly lucky, I suppose. We were both young as well, and it just worked, I don't know, to our advantage. And then the second time round, the second assessment didn't take as long. It was the same social worker again, and then we were just approved the assessment, and she came up, and she was, her mum and dad picked myself and Paul, so we were just lucky that they wanted her to have a sibling, and they wanted different things, and we just ticked all the boxes, I suppose.
And how do Kieran and Sophie respond to the fact that
Great.
they're
Yeah, well, they know no different, I suppose. They know they've 2 mummies, they've 2 daddies, and that they've other family as well, and it's, to be honest, it's no big deal for them. They don't see anything wrong with it. I want them to know as much as they can, and I have all that information, and I want to give it to them. I want to be able to share their lives with their birth mums, because only for them I wouldn't have them. And
I suppose the touching thing out of both your stories is that you've so much information, which in so many cases of adoptions people never get to find out. Mums, dads, brothers, sisters. But Paddy, you have found out you have 8 siblings, and Kathy, your children will know their biological parents as well.
Okay, there's just one other thing that before we go. You've got something around your neck, Paddy, which was given to you when you got on the plane after the funeral.
Yeah, it was a lovely moment when we were leaving the Logan Airport. One of my sisters said, we've had our mother for 50 years, you've only had her for 6 months, and there's her ring. And she gave me the ring. So it won't fit any of my fingers, but I wear it around my neck. So it's a nice little touch that I thought.
Of course it was.
Yeah.
Paddy, yours is a lovely story that you did get to meet your mum, and of course you did have a good life growing up.
Yeah, I had a great life in Mullingar, yeah.
Okay. And there are 2 children who are having a tremendous life with you and Paul, and we thank you both for coming in and talking to us today.
Well, I know both your stories are featured in the book about which is celebrating its 100th year this year. And your 2 stories and many others. So many thanks for coming on this morning.
Thank you very much.
Now, coming up next, they've outshone the boys, and there's no doubt about that. With the Triple Crown already secured, we'll chat to some of the Irish women's rugby team next. Don't go away.